My name is Andrew Bauer and I'm an animator, and this is another clip where I actually took the time to record myself describing my little process here. So let's get into it. The first thing here is, well, our scene is a little sword fighty action with one of my characters. And that first drawing I did, basically the first picture I threw in there, it's not the first drawing, but it's the first one that I had a clear image of what I wanted her posture, her shape to be. So I threw that in there, and right now I'm working in this blue sketchy nonsense that I can blast through really quick and get scribbled in there nice and quick. Don't have to worry about too much about getting everything right. I'm just slapping it in there because I want to get... Because when I draw quickly, I seem to have more life and vibrance in my drawings. If I get caught up in the details, it seems stiff and static and loses some of that energy. So I try and do this stage at least nice and quick. Also because deadlines and nobody wants you wasting time, taking forever to do something. So, she's gonna come whipping around and swing her sword and attack some tentacles from a big monster thingy that's attacking her. Moving backwards just a second to where I went through and scaled and moved around that one drawing that was just a little too small, a little too low on the screen. Reminded me of a homework assignment that I did back in school learning how to do this, and why paper is a much bigger pain in the ass to work with than digital traditional 2D animation. You can't do that scaling stuff, and I had this one drawing, this one animated homework project where I had my character sitting on a couch doing her actions, but over the course of this, 10-second clip or whatever, every drawing was just a tiny bit smaller than the one before it. Not enough to notice between one drawing and the next, but enough so that you play the clip at full speed, which I also didn't do because it was on paper until I went through and photographed all the different frames and put them through a program to actually double check it, do the pencil test, which I can't do at the click of a button here on paper. And there she goes! Oh, look at her getting smaller and smaller over the course of my entire assignment. And since it's on paper, I can't really just scale and translate. I had to redraw every single frame. So, being able to scale, rotate, all that stuff at the click of a button, it's a friggin' Christmas miracle. Because of that. Anyway. So, here, I'm finally getting around to throwing in the other side of the equation. And in red, I'm drawing the evil tentacles that are taking swings at her, and she's chopping them up with her sword. And I don't know if you caught that, but this tentacle is swiping from the left to the right side of the screen, nice and fast, trying to take out her legs. And I 100% drew that cut in the tentacle on the wrong side of the tentacle. Because, again, I'm blowing through this real quick, and I guess I'm just a big old dummy sometimes. Another thing that I went through and cleaned up later on is that I've had her hands in the wrong place on the sword handle, and I had to reverse them so that the right hand was on top. Unless you're a lefty, that's just how it goes. Right hand's by the cross guard. Anyway, and here we go. So I love having big movements and acrobatic stuff. That's the kind of animation that I want to do. It's the kind of stuff I like doing, stuff I like watching, so it makes sense. So having her do this cool handspring thing and have the monster that's tentacles just fling its arm, and she's just like, I'm just gonna have my sword in the way where you thought there was gonna be a person. And it's like swinging your hand at a lightsaber, and don't be surprised when you don't have a hand anymore. Anyway, after I did all the blue stuff, now I'm like the blue sketchy nonsense. Now I've switched over to doing black sketchy nonsense. Apparently I'm incapable of doing anything in a clean, non-sketchy manner. So, whatever. But I don't know, I just like the way that the black in this program draws more than the blue. So after she does that big swing right here, where her shoulders are kind of twisting around before her head whips around, well, her whole body spins around, but right here I wanted the motivator for the movement to switch from being her moving the sword to the sword moving her, because it's a big ass sword, big and heavy. So after she does that big swing, it's gonna pull on her and pull her shoulders around, following it. And it's also gonna, and then her hips will follow after that. What I did here is I put her, there's a bit too much of a weird, awkward, funky twist in her hips that I didn't like, so I painted it red in all the frames where I wanted to correct it, and then went through and did my adjustments, my corrections on top of that. It's like a marker, like, you know, when your teacher grades your assignment in red, and you're like, here's where you went wrong, here's what you need to fix. That's kind of what I did there. So, and filling in the blanks between the keys, I guess you'd call them the breakdown poses, the extremes, tweens, whatever. So this is like, again, part of that swing before the weight of the sword started yanking on her shoulders. But this part's a little easier because I have those rough keyframes put in, so I'm just kind of going in and putting in between the previously established, you know, drawings. And I'm jumping around a bit because I do that, and now I'm back over to when she's doing her cool flippy action. And yes, it's a she. She doesn't have big boobs. Whatever, deal with it. Not everyone does. That plus I haven't drawn them yet. But yeah, acrobatics are awesome. And she's gonna do this cool, like, I don't know the term for a handspring when you don't use your hands because you have a giant sword in your hands. But she's doing one of those. Some kick flip action. And yeah, so she's going to do that and then drag the sword along the ground where her legs used to be, so that the tentacle that's swinging at her is going to hit sword instead of person. Anyway, cool foreshortening stuff where things get super close to the screen. Always adds a lot of dynamic movement, whatever buzzword goes there. It looks cool. What do you want from me? So, and one thing that you do have to be a little bit careful about when you're doing something with super fast action like that, like this, is that you don't want, there's the potential for her like left foot to be in the same place as her right foot is in the next frame, because it's all flashing past in the same arc so quickly, and that's something that you want to avoid by offsetting it or doing something else. Just, you don't want those to be in the exact same place, because it's going to look like there wasn't much movement because it's one foot in the same place as the other foot, when in fact there is a whole lot of movement because she's moving very quickly. So you want to make sure that you don't have things in the same spot, or at least things that aren't the same thing in the same spot as something that was there before, to give the illusion that it's going to look like a weird flickery thing, and it's not going to flow the way you want it to. Also, there's that part where I had drawn in her leg in the flip and her knee was bent, and then about there is when I went, you know what, maybe I should look up some stinking video reference for this, and trolled around YouTube, and YouTube is the best for video reference for animators. It's got everything you could ever want, and in slow motion. And here we go. I'm looking at you. Swing, chop first tentacles, jump, slice second tentacle. Party time.